Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's podcast episode where we're gonna theory craft our asses off, all about Rebirth. It is Final Fantasy VII's birthday, but it's also Daimorti's birthday tonight, everybody. So wish Daimorti a happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our guests for this evening are Daimorti, M, and Inochi. And we are really going to deep dive into the world of Final Fantasy VII and all of the theories that are out there. And you guys at home can also chuck your theories at us. But the way that I ask you to chuck your theories at us is through a channel point command. So if you have one that you would like to throw at us for us to discuss, if you go into the Platy points, you will find that for 50 points, you can ask us a question, or you can just share your theory. But we already have some pre-planned that we're going to go through, so have a little listen and see if it's maybe on the same lines as yours. Thank you for all of those birthday messages to Daimorti. Thank you so much, guys. So yes, we're very excited. It is 1 month to go until the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We are going to query whether Crisis Core and Advent Children should be classed as spoilers for newcomers to the series. Our first question for tonight is going to be going one by one for a start. So Daimorti, we'll come to you first. Give me your favourite crackpot theory about Zack and the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth timeline. What's your favourite theory?
Oh, my favorite theory would have been the one that I just debunked myself, that I came up with before, and that I just debunked watching trailers for this, which is that Zack is not alive, but like an image that is projected from the live stream, but he's like kind of following along, and then only people attuned to the live stream were able to see and interact with him, and then eventually it's just like, "You've been dead for 7 years." He's like, "I'm not dead." "Yeah, you are." And then it's like the whole ghost thing, but that's not gonna happen. That's different now. I saw the pauldrons. The shoulder pauldrons told all the story I needed. I debunked that myself.
Ah, okay. What about yourself? What's your favourite crackpot theory about Zack and Rebirth?
So it depends on whether you want that I want to be true or the one that I think is more realistic for what we're going to get, because they are in fact different. The one that I would like to be true is that he's just there for some reason and then gets to die in Rebirth instead, just in front of our eyes to relive the trauma. But the one that I find to be way more realistic is that this is how we're going to be getting more of like the flashback elements from the amnesia plot, is that we're actually going to be like experiencing it more as if it were Zack, versus how we got it with Cloud's like face on it originally. So I think it's going to be a different take on the amnesia thing.
Interesting, I like that. And what about you, Inochi?
I definitely don't want to relieve the trauma, please.
Sorry.
I do not like this idea one bit. I don't know if it's a crackhead theory, but I think that Zack is actually might be in a correct timeline, while the others are like living in some sort of created timeline, or like they're stuck in a timeline that is the original Final Fantasy VII, and they're somehow like dreaming, maybe compared to like Final Fantasy X Tidus, what he was like dreaming and going through. That's why Zack is like seeing them in the in Iris' house, like dreaming. So yeah, it was all the dream, a theory, I suppose. That's where I think it's going. But yeah, we'll see.
Very interesting. Okay, so tonight we're going to be moving on straight through these questions. We're well aware that there's a state of play at the end of tonight, so we'll try to not keep you too long. But basically, Daimorti, M, and Inochi, if you could just, whichever one of you feel like you've got the answer, whenever I read a question, go for it, and then you can, if you feel you've got more, throw it at us. So my next question is, do you think it's possible that Cloud and the others created two timelines, with one where Zack didn't die? So for example, we already know that there is the different dog stamp image. So who has an answer for this one?
Guys?
Yes. Yes, I mean, Sephiroth in the previous State of Play trailer kind of tells you like the reunion of the worlds merging. It's like no longer the reunion that we could know from OG, but it's like the reunion of the worlds merging. It's like, okay, so probably Sephi's plan is to create multiple timelines for some purpose to then bring them together and probably take over, because that's ultimately his goal. He doesn't want to die. So maybe that's one part. But I think we're dealing with like separate timelines that eventually will converge either in this game or the next game.
See, I'm actually in the boat that they're not separate timelines. They are a narrative being rewritten in real time. So, like, functionally,
Ooh, yeah.
that's kind of like the same thing, right? Because it's two different versions of a story converging at a point. You could talk about that in terms of timelines with a singularity, which does happen at the end of Remake, right? When you go into like the subspace thing. But for me, I'm thinking more about it as a narrative convergence as instead of like a meta timeline convergence. And in that way, I think it's just like the page being erased and rewritten again. So if we're talking about it in terms sorry, this is so complex. If we're talking about it in terms of timelines, it's not like two timelines converging, it's the same one that's like being overwritten. Because you do see like a little bit of hints of that from like foreshadowing. It's almost prophetic. That could be glimpses into another timeline, could be glimpses into what's happening in the live stream, but it's rebirth. It's the cycle of rebirth. So for me, it's less of that convergence and more of like we're hitting the same story beats, we're headed the same place, but that doesn't mean that the same events are going to play out the exact same way. Is more the way that I've been approaching that, at least.
Have we also considered that maybe the team realized that the plot goes and something like suggesting there's going to be more timelines and people might be still alive might be a bad idea, and we're going to remove Tetsuya Nomura from directing this game and actually we're going back to the original plotline, because all of the new Rebirth trailers, etc., no plot ghost at all. Like,
You're wrong.
There's
There are
there's a
plot
few,
ghosts.
yeah.
There are
the
plot ghosts
smoke.
at a very
'Cause I
important point in the last trailer. You see all the plot ghosts in the world.
hmm
Oh.
the world. Okay, I haven't forgot. I forgot about that then.
Yeah, in the last story trailer that they released at the end when they show Aerith in the city of the ancients, that very pivotal scene we all know.
Oh, they're behind her, of
There
course.
is
Yeah, I
ghosts
remember
behind her.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I just got excited because they removed the smoke effect, and instead it was like there's blood in the game now. So I'm like, damn, maybe there's actually
well, it,
some hope. But no, you're right.
their presence is also interesting because in Remake they serve to kind of move the plot towards the canon of the original game. But the ways that they're doing that actually reference like some of the original ways that the game was written as well. There was an iteration of the script I recall where Barrett was supposed to be the first to die in Shinra Tower, but the Whisper saved him, and so that didn't end up happening in the remake. So that's also part of what lends myself to like the narrative convergence instead of the timeline, is that the Whispers are kind of pushing us in that direction, regardless
Yeah.
of what that means for the characters. They're not
I
really for
personally
or
would
against.
like that more because I feel like the multiverse is just way too complicated. And I would like them to maybe exist in like a same one world and one timeline. But yeah, no idea yet.
I think from like it's difficult because every single trailer is specifically designed to like get you on the wrong side of the road, like drive you into the corner where your thoughts like, oh, this could be this, and then like, no, not really. The next trailer comes around, it's like, wait, that is like, what is happening now, right? Like they're purposefully being very vague with what they're showing, and like very purposefully being like, here's the like very epic music in this very weird moment in the trailer. Think about this for a second, and then we show something else. It's like, wait, no, go back. Wait, no, this doesn't make sense now. So like I'm all over the place now. But maybe to come to my Pauldron explanation why my theory doesn't work anymore. Originally in the trailer, when Zack is talking to Marlene, and Marlene is like, "Oh, when she wakes up, the Batman will kill her," and then Zack is in the background. I was like, "Okay, is this just like the ghost of Zack being there?" And because Marlene is like attuned to the live stream, we know this from the OG game and from the remake, where she can like see past this timeline and see like future Aerith a little bit. She can see Zack, and Zack can interact with her, but it's not. It's the alternate timeline because Cloud behind Zack is in a wheelchair, but with both pauldrons and not one pauldron with the screws, which is his like OG armor. But that's the soldier armor he wears when Zack carries him into Midgard. So that is all like actually happening. So I'm guessing Zack goes, finds a Moira, finds Aerith for some reason knocked unconscious, and like the sector half destroyed because the timeline suddenly converged already. And then Marlene is there for some reason already. So I think they're gonna really play in the beginning with like, oh, these are two different timelines, and then it's gonna be maybe more into like a no, this is like a parallel thing that's being rewritten, and like Zack is trying to like affect things, and this is all like part of Aerith's plan to stop Sephiroth from gaining control and all that. But who knows, right? It could just be timelines. I agree. I really don't want to see like a multiverse situation where it doesn't make any sense anymore and nothing
Yeah,
matters
it's like
anymore
the
because you could just be,
exactly.
well, in this
Mhm.
universe, Sephiroth didn't die, you know?
Exactly. That's why I don't really like the multiverse either, because none of the situations or actions that happen they don't really matter, right? To the characters,
Yeah.
because it's not affecting them in like the different timeline at all.
Yeah, it makes for a better story to be fighting destiny rather than playing it out in an entirely different way.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
Okay, I'm gonna have to keep us moving on these questions because we've got quite a few. Number 3 is there is a question of which version of Sephiroth we are seeing. Which time is he coming from? Do any of you have any thoughts on whether we're seeing a Sephi from the future and how might this affect the story?
Well, I think it's just like in the original, one of his copies, or like one of people ejecting by the Genova cells, and he's like somehow, like a mind flayer, trying, like kind of projecting himself, and like that's why we could see him. Because I guess I'm just taking this from the original, right? That he's like connected to the planet and connected with all of his copies, and he might appear as them and he might take actions at them, but it's not his body, right? So because like when Cloud is putting a final blow in the remake, it's just he's all like turning into dust and just leaving a copy, I think. Or I can't remember now, but it definitely just turns into dust, right? So it might just be the copy, or one of those destiny protectors. That's
Yeah,
what I think, at least.
there's definitely a lot of that hopping around you see in Remake as well, but and again, a little bit of optimism in this because I think his story is so tragic. The version of him that we see in the Singularity at the very end, I it's something about the way that he speaks, and there have been notes about this in the original Japanese version. They use different pronouns for when he's talking about himself. It's not a collective, it's very much like a personal. It's I am doing this instead of we are doing this. I like to think that that is a version of him that is maybe not as corrupted by Genova. By no means does that like make him a good person, but it does mean that there's a little bit more autonomy. Like he's not necessarily taking over the world in the name of the calamity. Very much playing more of his own game. That is at least the direction I have chosen to interpret the choices in his grammar at that point in time. There are also some musical notes in the specific version of One Winged Angel that we get at that point in time where it doesn't have as much of a dour tone to it. The way that the song modulates is more into the heroic caliber that we hear whenever Cloud enters combat or does something heroic. So I'm hoping, at the very least, because it would make for a very fun narrative, to see a version of him that is motivated by his own goals and isn't necessarily being influenced by like Hojo or Genova or Shinra or any of the things that have affected him growing up.
Oh,
Interesting.
wasn't it always his own? I always thought that he's doing it from the personal, like, vengeance on humanity and Hojo and people that did him wrong and created him a monster. Basically, that's how I was
Uh,
interpreting.
A little bit. There have been like interviews about this and stuff where they talk about him making his own actions, but again, like he's never really had much of his own free will, like because he was like brainwashed as a kid, like sent to war as a child. you very much are influenced by the adults in your life, and you're going from someone like Hojo to someone like Genova. Even if he has like his own free will at that point in time, you don't leave those kinds of relationships unscarred. So I very much feel like those have affected him in a way where they may not have. And I guess spoilers for Crisis Core, you can see some of those nice things about him shining through there too, because he did really care about his people at one point in time, and that's just lost now. It's a very like tragic tale of like falling from grace from everything you could have been when you never really had it in the first
No,
place.
of course. It all ends when he finds the truth, right? I mean, or at least how he interprets the reports, thinking that alien was, his mother and stuff. So
Yeah,
just does
because he lost
some
his
misreading
best
the
friend.
text.
Yeah, he lost his best friends and comrades in the world. He didn't understand it until that moment, and he's like, "Oh, we're all monsters. Might as well act like one." I
Yeah.
don't. It's a very interesting theory that to think like it's like a one world control. Like I'm still 100% sure that it's future Sephi. It's the Sephiroth after Advent Children. After he failed to come back, he changed tactics, and so I think that all through the remake, the first part, we interact with future Sephi. Like he's setting everything in motion. It's just Sephiroth with future knowledge. He knows how to coax Cloud into doing exactly what he needs to destroy the Whispers, to change whatever he needs changing. And I think in Rebirth, especially during the flashback scenes, and they already confirmed that Sephiroth is a playable character. I think you're gonna play with like OG Sephi and future Sephi, and I think they're gonna play around a little bit with your perception of which is which,
Oh, I
and
like
to
this.
have some
I like that a
gotcha
lot
moments.
too.
You're like, maybe there's a flashback and you just do your thing. You play as Sephi, you're like, oh, this is great. And then like future Sephi just shows up and like changes things around on you, and like that's not how it happened. This is wrong. And then like it cuts to back, and you're like, wait, what just happened? Like I think they're gonna play some cerebral tricks with like two versions of Sephi.
I
You
like
think
this
she's gonna
actually.
get like a Disney treatment that like, oh, the villain was actually a good guy
I don't know.
in the end?
I think they respect Sephiroth as a villain way too much to do something like that.
They wouldn't pop him everywhere if that was true,
Yeah.
honestly. No, they know it brings the fan service. They're kind of overusing him, but that's changing the topic. Sorry.
Okay, so I next have my first opinion piece for the night. This is from Ferrico. Let me bring it up for you.
Hello there, I am Ferico, and I just wanted to quickly talk about a little theory of mine for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. In Icicle Inn, the snow town in the original Final Fantasy VII, in Professor Gast's report, Valna talks about Genova taking the forms of friends of the Cetra and essentially tricking them, which played a big part in leading to their extinction. We also see in the original Final Fantasy VII, Genova take the form of Tifa at a certain point in the Northern Crater to trick whoever you get to mind the black materia to hand it over and to bring it to where Cloud is. Do you think that it's possible that there'll be an expanded role for Genova tricking people in Rebirth? And do we think Zack could be a form that Genova is taking in order to trick people? It's my little theory. It may be wrong, but it's fun to speculate. Thanks for listening. Bye.
So that was I Am Ferrico. Thank you very much for sending that in. Where is my video? my background video is just blackness. Hang on. I just want to make sure that it's there. It was actually perfectly timed blackness of the end of Yuffie's I call it Yuffie DLC. From what Ferrico just said there, so he's basically saying, is Genova changing forms to trick people? Because he did in the original game. So he's saying, is he possibly playing Genova playing the role of Zack? So I've got two questions for you. Is Genova possibly playing the role of Zack? But also, who could Sephi be talking about when he says in the trailer, you know that I killed her, which is implying Tifa, so who is she?
Could it be? Yes, agreed. Like it from like taking like the set roller into account, it could definitely be. If it happens, I will be livid because that's the biggest cop out to like, oh, Zack's on the cover of the game, and Zack is so important, and we re-release Advent Children, and we re-release Crisis Core. It's very important, and it's just like, gotcha. It was just all the time. You idiot! I would be livid.
But what
True.
if it's like a triple fake out where they do that at the beginning and then like
I
halfway
would
through
still
Zack
be so
actually
mad.
shows
would
up?
still be
They're
so
like, we
mad.
got you twice. No, but it goes into what you were talking about earlier too. They have so much opportunity to play with perception. I think that it would be smart to do it in at least one moment.
True.
Whether or not they figure it out quickly or if it becomes a long con, for Genova to be playing around that way. Because if you think about it that way, it could be anyone. And that just makes it more fun.
Honestly, yeah. I would love to see Genova more involved as a villain rather than just see Sephiroth again for the millionth time, as iconic as he is. But I think Genova could. Maybe the Genova is, the thing that is getting reborn. Wouldn't that be interesting, right? Like the calamity, the villain, the real threat to the planet. Like maybe she's gonna be back, right? I really like Furiko's way of thinking. That was really fun. I would love to see more like the original Genova, the threat, back in the game.
True. That would be really fun.
Genova.
Though in the sense of the story, does that make sense though? Because Genova isn't really there anymore. It's just like mimetic remnants of Genova that Sephi then uses in this like weird symbiotic relationship that he has with this body that he took. Like, does it make
Yeah,
sense for
but
Genova to have so much
if
control?
if he comes or like walks behind behind the time and space, right? You say that he might be from the future.
Ooh.
Wouldn't he also could find a way to like restore Genova's cells and the
merging
bodies and
merging like enough timelines together to get enough cells together to rebirth her. That's very
maybe
fun.
we're switching a little bit, but it's just
that's
I would like to
fun.
see Genova.
That's terrifying. Genova Reborn is absolutely terrifying. I just had a small panic attack.
He just jumps a tentacle from this timeline, eyeball here, a bit of hair there. There we go, mommy, you're back.
It's
It's just this like Frankenstein, like, kill me.
Yeah, or well, he could maybe just use her to like bring more pain and more meteors, or I don't know.
True.
Again, I'm a big fan of the original, so I would like to see as little changes as possible, as fun as those theories are. But yeah, I'm kind of an OG fan. So
fun is like a super boss too, like an optional one. Like, hey, what if in a simulation? Here's what we know about Genova from all these different places. What if we made one big one?
I like that. Genova DLC, please.
There you go.
The hardcore mode.
Yeah, Genova is like the last summon you get if you finish the game in like Iron Man.
Let's move on to the next question. I'm really looking forward to hearing your answers to this one. Who do you guys think the cloaked reunion man is in Junon in our recent trailers? Does anyone have an answer for this?
So this one drove me insane because as far as like bearded characters go, we don't have that many with that particular haircut and that particular hair color, which helps narrow it down a little bit. So I finally settled on it maybe being Gast, or maybe being Hollander. Because as far as like like the shape of the facial hair and the hair color is so iconic. Like Reeve has a very similar cut in Remake because I've been replaying it recently, but the hair color is wrong. So unless he decided to dye his beard brown, I'm leaning more towards like one of the professors. That makes the most sense to me.
Gast would be insane.
Yeah,
that would be a big one, right?
Holy shit.
I don't know. It's hard. Like looking at that, and it's only like a couple frames, so it's really hard to tell. The physique just looks too bulky to be like one of the professors. Like they're always like.
Well, Hollander's a bigger guy. That's
Hollander,
why I was like,
yeah, like Hollander would be even bigger. I feel like, but it could definitely be them. Like it's the only ones that make sense with the haircuts. Because like as you said, there just isn't that many beards in this game.
Right, and then it's like, okay, well, who has that hair color that would grow a beard? Like would choose to grow a beard, and that list is like tiny as well.
I like that. But I feel like the mobile characters from the first soldier, the Glenn that is mentioned in the
That's an
chat.
option. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think since Nomura again is not a director anymore, I just don't think they would consider the mobile game as important to put a character in the main story like that. It's either maybe a
Yeah.
new character or one of those older characters. I want to believe in them that they wouldn't do it, but that's what I think at least.
Yeah, it's a tough one because like you say, if it were, it can't, to me it can't be a new character because they've pointed them out. I know that they weren't like really pointed out, but they I don't know, I just feel like any generic could have just been saying reunion, but they showed a beard, like they showed something that just makes me feel like there's got to be somebody, right?
It's probably important,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it would be
Farrakhan says,
so-
camera
Detail.
lingers. The camera lingers.
Yeah, it's definitely an important character, and they definitely wanted you to be like, huh, who is this? But like, I agree, like a new character would be weird in that setting as well. Like in Junon, there's already so much going on. Like it's a very rapid fire zone, except for the mini games. It would be so weird if there's just like, by the way, new character right there.
The more he just admit it, they put you in the game.
Is it you, Morty?
It's you.
I
Rendered.
wish.
For you, Genova.
It's like,
Oh,
hey,
no,
who are
that
you?
would be amazing.
I am John Fantasy.
John Fantasy, yeah.
Um,
Man, but now I want it to be Gast. Holy shit.
Right? Like
If it's
this,
gas,
this
I will-
like kept me awake.
My pants are
Mm.
gonna drop. It's gas.
Like, oh, I'm said it. I'm called it. Remember that, guys.
Okay, so our next one, we've got another opinion piece. This one is from Dupe, who has just written a question in chat. Thank you very much, Dupe. Let me just get this up on the screen.
Square Enix are really trying to have their cake and eat it too with the new Final Fantasy VII stuff. On one hand, they are telling new fans they can just jump in at any point while releasing storylines in a wildly remixed order. It's crazy they decided to release the Crisis Core remake before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth even tackles Cloud's flashback, completely spoiling the big plot twist. In my opinion, there are three major plot twists in Final Fantasy VII. The first one is Sephiroth being the antagonist, which they didn't even try to play around in Part 1. The second one is Aerith's fate. Both of these are quite well known outside of fandom, and Aerith has been discussed to death leading up to Rebirth. But the third one, Cloud's identity, is something that hasn't permeated pop culture as much, especially since all of Cloud's cameo appearances in other games basically just give you this one Cloud. Yet, with pushing Crisis Core before Rebirth, they're completely spoiling one of the greatest twists in gaming by showing the whole Nibelheim sequence as it was. Similar problems arise with re-releasing Advent Children, the literal sequel to the game, before Part 2. Sure, it can be said that they have to show these before Rebirth because it ties into them, but that's kind of lopsided logic as Square never had to make it this way in the first place. Now, I'm not saying they're wrong in making the story what they want. Rather, they should be much more transparent to new fans in their marketing that what they are releasing now is far from the legendary original title. They are failing as a custodian of that legacy.
So Dupe's not happy. Dupe's not too
No, that's real,
pleased
though.
about what Square are doing. Thank you so much, Dupe. So from what he has just said, do you guys think that Square's cinema screenings of Advent Children in the run-up to Rebirth's release is hinting at anything that might be coming up in the game? At the end of Remake, for example, you fight three Whispers, which have been likened to the three brothers, Kadaj, Loz, and Yazoo from Advent Children. So do you expect these characters maybe to become relevant in the new Remake storyline?
Oh, relevant again? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan with them. Although, was it Luzu, the short hair guy with Tifa fight?
Yeah,
That's
that's Luzo.
iconic.
Don't
That's
cry.
iconic one.
I I think it's important, like, thematically to be aware that they're there because they're really driving home the point of, like, the clones and stuff, but as far as them being in the game, that's part of why I have my Ultimania open. They are the harbingers. Like, there are notes about this in here, like that cinematic fight you were talking about with Laws and Tifa fighting. They very specifically reference the Advent Children animation in putting that fight together for the cinematic and remake. So I think it's more just like general marketing hype. We're gonna do all of the 7 things again before Rebirth comes out.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe that's more a nod for the older fans that might have grew up with Advent Children and never had a chance to see it in the cinemas. So, you Americans, we don't have this in Europe, so I was really
Come visit.
salty.
I've got tickets. Come visit.
Super freaking salty about that. Yeah, but so I'm actually not aware of too many new fans that are like taking like they took remake. They played remake for the first time, right? And they're waiting for the part 2. I haven't heard too much about like people maybe dive into those older games and like the other remakes and the Advent Children to like spoil themselves. Honestly, I think most of the people just waiting for the rebirth now from the new players. But I think it's just the marketing on the millennials. Like, yeah, we're gonna play on your nostalgia now to rise the hype for the rebirth. Just making sure everything is promoted. But yeah, yeah, I agree with Dupe. I agree with Dupe. I mean, it is one of the greatest plot twists of all time. But
I
like
like.
after I think, I'm sorry to just interrupt you, that if anyone really super got into Final Fantasy VII Remake after playing it for the first time, they might have played the original after, since there's like it was remastered and released on multiple platforms. So maybe they already hopefully got that or twist from the original, and now they're just jumping on the hype of everything else before Rebirth. Fingers crossed.
That's what I did when I played Remake. I played Remake in like
Oh,
2 days, and then I was like, "Wow, I wonder what the original was like." And then I watched like
yeah.
a huge playthrough of it.
Wonderful. I
I
like
would
half
assume.
agree with Dupe on that. Like, obviously, there is the business side of things. It's just like, hey, we have this giant release, we have this backlog of things that we can just pump out right now. They probably had like a Crisis Core remake planned for like years and years and years, and we're like, perfect. Put that in the year between. We make a buttload of money. It's great, right? But I don't think it's just as sinister as that. There's definitely a business reason for it, and it's a smart choice, especially releasing Advent Children now, with most people agreeing that timeline wise, probably the remake series is a sequel to Advent Children. Like, that is one of the most fan favorite ideas out there. It's just that the genie is out of the bottle the first time you reveal that Cloud and Zack are different people, right? Like the first time you reveal, oh, it's all memories jumbled. The genie's out of the bottle, and that reveal happened like over 20 years ago, right? Like, so long ago. Like, are there people now that don't know about this? 100%. But to only cater to those people when you remake the game, I think they made the decision that it just doesn't work that way well, because they didn't want to just redo the game. They didn't want to remaster it and put it back out. They've already done that. Now they have Ever Crisis to like play around with that, right? No, they wanted something for people to play that is the original, but also new at the same time, which might not land with everybody. I personally really love it because I get to play my favorite thing, but it's also super new and makes me go on podcasts and speculate upon this super old storyline because they did change things. So I think them re-releasing this is just like an admission of, hey, if you want to get everything that we are going to throw at you in Rebirth, brush up on your knowledge because it all matters. And to like the new fans, like if you are a new fan, I agree. If you're like a super new fan, you play it for the first time, then like everyone around you that knows you, the internet itself, everybody is going to be like safeguarding you from those spoilers, or like trying to, at least in this bubble. But for most people, it's out there. Like, that information has been out there for so many years. I don't think it's fair to just be like, no, you that have played this already, you have to wait now for the next generation to experience this. I think what they're doing is a good middle ground of like, if you are a new person, there is a chance for you to experience this if you want to play the OG or Ever Crisis or whatever. But if you're like not, then here's your favorite game with a big twist. I hope you like it.
Lovely. Let's move on to the next question, which is quite linked. In your opinion, any one of you, in your opinion, should people play Crisis Core before Rebirth, or do you think that is spoiler territory?
Oh, it's definitely a spoiler territory. It's a very short game. I think it's fun. It's by no means necessary to enjoy the series. It actually is just a bunch of really weird dialogue that I kind of just went through my other ear, but it's still fun. It's like 20 hours. You're just gonna like hear in your sleep like mission activating or whatever. Activating combat mode. That's what
That's
Yep.
the
it was.
one.
That's the one. So I think it's really fun and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The remake is so well done.
Yeah. If you
So,
really
do we
like to
have a
receive
question
mail,
about the do we have a question about the new voice actor of Zack? Because
We don't. Do you want to say something?
Go on.
it takes a lot to get used to if you played Crisis Core back in like 2008 or was it 9. I always say that I think this guy is somebody's nephew. It's just I'm so sorry, I'm a big hater. But if you can get used to his new voice, it's a fun game. It's very beautiful. It's very
Yeah.
short as well.
And if you haven't played it before, like it's by no means like you have to do this or you won't understand anything that's happening in Rebirth whatsoever. But it is like a nice slice of context. I am trying to be very not biased about a certain character right now. But it's
Genesis.
yeah, I am in fact a Genesis sympathizer. There's a lot of poetry that he quotes in that game that will also just haunt you in your sleep.
one. He quotes one
It's one
thing.
poem, but it's all he does.
It's 3 verses, okay? It's not that deep.
It's more than it's
As
fine.
I have
it's
a
fine.
problem with
Uh-huh.
him because beside that, he's not really showing any personality. I'm sorry. I know he has a
Fine.
face of Gak.
I'm okay with that.
I understand, but
His
There he is.
personality is show up, quote. There he is, delightful. His whole thing is like show up, quote poetry, and then like scattered to the wind. I think that that's brilliant. It's
and
exactly
he's got
what
an
it needs to
open
be.
ending, right, in this game too.
Mhm.
So
And can like go
damn
into
it.
the whole Dirge of Cerberus thing that they've also like hinted at
Yeah.
in the DLC as well, because he's relevant for that too. But as far as playing not playing Crisis Core, if you're worried about spoilers,
I know the
I
ending.
I firmly stand in the opinion that like a piece of media isn't good if the spoiler ruins it for you. So if you want the context and you want to play like a nice slice of context prior to Rebirth or Remake, I would definitely say like it's worth just playing the game too, or play it after Rebirth too. Get some more context for Zack.
Yeah. Yes, I have just realized that my video compilation does show some very poignant scenes.
Yeah, the literal ending. No, I'm gonna cry.
Quite important.
Yeah,
So
that's different timeline. Who cares?
exactly, it's fine. It won't mean anything in a month's time.
It's not real anymore.
Yeah. So my next question: there are some people that absolutely hate that Zack is seemingly still alive in this remake, feeling that it destroys the whole point of his legacy and how Cloud came to be Cloud. What are your thoughts on this?
It really just very quick. It just really depends on what they do with him. That he's there, I don't have a problem with. But what happens? Like if they screw it up, then I'm very mad. If they nail it, perfect, good job.
Well, I'm not a big fan because my favorite character is Cloud, and basically for his development, he needs those 2 specific deaths to become what he is. And well, basically, I just really love that his story has a very concrete like beginning, middle, and the adventure is a very amazing ending to his story arc, and he needs those deaths to like just become who he is, basically, right? Because Advent Children is about forgiving himself for those deaths, right? For forgetting about Zack, for letting Aerith die, or like being manipulated by Sephiroth, etc. I think this story is just very deep, and he needs it for the character development and who he is. So they're just gonna change him completely, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. If they're both like alive, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, can't wait to see what it's going to be.
But it all depends, of
Yeah.
course, what they are making with them.
I mean, like from the trailer, you can definitely infer that at least in the beginning, it's two different timelines because like the Cloud that was in the test tube is there and Zack is there. So you're like, okay, so this is definitely like Zack didn't die somehow and then brought Cloud into Midgard. So now we are like in the 3 months period before the OG starts. What happened then, right? Like in this new timeline. But how they get out of there and like connect it to the rest of the game will say a lot about if like the OG character arcs
This is a
remain
good
intact or not.
story or
Yeah.
writing as well. I have a lot of hope though, because
Yeah.
the story writer is a Final Fantasy X screenwriter, and Final Fantasy X is one of my favorites as well, personally.
Mhm.
Although they have the time mumbo jumbo there as well, and the dream sequences, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I have a lot of hope in that man.
Yeah, I think that that everyone in the team has very high respect for the OG and they don't want to ruin it for fans, but they're also trying to tell like a very ambitious new story, and that can backfire. They could just make a very big mistake and the story unravels and it isn't fun, and we just have to hope that that doesn't happen and that what they have planned actually lands in the end of all 3 games.
Okay. How will Shinra react to Zack still being alive, considering what happens at the end of Crisis Core? And the fact that he's back in Midgar. So considering the reason that he was getting shot down, how could this shape the Zack Shinra story going forward in Rebirth?
I think in their story, he just killed how many soldiers there? 100 or something, and he survived it. Yeah, he's definitely gonna be like they're gonna be on the hunt for him.
Yeah, that or
They're
they're just
sending the
gonna,
Turks or something,
Yeah.
and they are gonna be super surprised. I feel.
or they're just gonna like offer him a bigger paycheck. Like, I don't think
Oh,
Shinra
oh, you
doesn't know
just
the name of
like
a single man who died down there. Like, it's fully possible that they're like, wow, you're kind of a great killing machine. You want to add like a few extra zeros to the end of the paycheck?
Yeah, wonder if they're gonna do like if Zack is gonna bring Cloud in. He obviously finds Amoy. We see that in the trailer. He finds Aerith somehow and all that. If the like Shinra will just send the Turks after him, and the Turks are just gonna be like, "Hey Zack, yeah, you're cool, man. Just do whatever." Like Cisne and I were just gonna be over here. You do you, whatever, man.
Yeah, or we can just come back to the theory that he just is a ghost, right? Like we see in the
Yeah.
Advent Children, and he's like just looking after everyone and being connected with the Merlin through the live stream. Yeah, maybe like that. Because I can even imagine Shinra will be pissed at him.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Ghost Zack walking into
Yeah.
a Shinra building and then like interacting with Turks that he wasn't friends with, and just like cracking jokes as they go down the hall, know that nobody can hear him. Just passes
yeah.
by Reno and he's like, I always thought that guy was too short. Just something like that, you know? Classic, just little bits of Zack comedy without facing the
mean-
repercussions for it.
What do you even think will be the start of the game? Like, title screen goes away, start game, intro cutscene plays. Are we gonna be Cloud? Or are we gonna be Zack? Like, who starts the game off?
Ooh.
Oh, who knows? I wonder.
Quickly moving on to the next question. Do any of you feel that this could lead to another Zack standalone game or DLC? If so, what could you imagine the storyline being?
Zack and Cisne open a bar in Costa del Sol. It's not going well because Zack is the most horrible bartender you can imagine. He drops every single glass, and Cisne has to find somebody else, and it's Red 13. Yes, that's my DLC.
Zack is stuck in a battle simulator
Oh,
in the
God.
limbo for eternity.
Activating combat, activating combat, activating
Activating
combat.
combat mode.
I don't think that we have enough information of what they're going to be doing with him in Rebirth to give any sort of like
Yeah.
serious answer for that. But I do like the idea of a life sim where he's served his purpose in
Oh.
the story and then he can just leave. Like he's done what he needs to do, and now he can just go open a bar or something, and then like not have to be involved anymore.
Listen, Dreamlight Valley, Disney, Final Fantasy VII crossover. It's
Oh,
not Kingdom Hearts.
no.
I'll give you that. You found some middle ground.
Oh no.
He
Okay.
joins the Yakuza or something.
Ooh.
Or Tekken. DLC. People
Scary.
wanted Tifa, but
Well, yeah, I would love Tifa in a Tekken game. Anyway, we've got our final opinion piece for the evening. This one is from Neon Genesis. It's very short. I've just taken a piece out of one of his longer videos. So here we go.
During Rebirth, I think things are going to start to show that things have changed. And I think one of the most noticeable changes that I think we're going to find is that Dine's fate will have changed in Rebirth. Meaning I think that Dine's going to live, and I think Barrett's going to talk him out of it. And I think this will be the first dramatic change that we see from the original in Rebirth.
Promise not to tell?
So that is one of Neon's theories. He thinks that Barrett is going to talk Dine out of killing himself. What do you guys think about that?
I mean,
I don't want it.
idealistic future, but
I think it would be more dramatic. I think it would take a lot of the quality of the game if Dine would live. I think his story is very just sad, and I think that's why we can also sympathize with Barrett even more, with Marlene even more. Like it's much more realistic if they would keep it well, like a tragic ending for them like that. Because I don't think if keeping him changed would add any importance to the story. I feel like his story is nicely closed in the original, so it's a very good writing. So it would be kind of a silly move if they changed that, personally.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
it's
It wouldn't add anything. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
My bad.
So I think its inclusion in the trailer at that point is more of a red herring because the very next scene is Marlene saying something about knowing events that she shouldn't have any knowledge of. So it very much leads you down the hole of, oh, is Dine going to survive? Does she know about what her dad's doing this time around? Like, how much does she know about Dine? Versus, like, is she having this moment about a completely different event entirely? So for me, this is more of a red herring than it is like, hey, we're changing this specific event, is the way that I interpreted the trailer.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to remind everybody in chat that this evening you can ask a question to any of these guys, something that is Rebirth related. You could ask or put forth your personal fan theory or your favorite fan theory if it hasn't been mentioned yet. We've got a few more questions left to go through before we start going through the chat questions. But all you have to do is do the channel point command. So you'll see in the platy points, you'll already have access to them. Just throw your question in there or your theory in there, and I will read it out shortly. Our next question, in what I call the Yuffie DLC, we were introduced to Nero and Weiss, further confirming the deep ground references made when the main team was stuck underground in Remake. How do you think these characters are going to play out in the new games? Mainline story or maybe a Vincent DLC? Nero and Weiss, what we thinking?
Well, that's the only game I haven't played, I think, in the series is Dirge of Cerberus. I only watched it as a teenager, having like my first boyfriend play it at the time, long time ago. So I don't remember anything. So when they popped out in the Yuffie DLC, I was like, huh. I think I saw them somewhere, but I have like no idea whatsoever. And I also am not good a player enough to defeat Vice on a hard mode, so I don't know what happens then. I have to sit this one out. I'm sorry.
It's fair. It's Dirge of Cerberus wasn't super well received, which is a shame. there are reasons for it, of course, but it was very interesting to kind of dive more into like the Black Ops division of Shinra, like the stuff they buried beneath the stuff they buried. So I think it's fun, to see it in higher quality, because they really were just some straight up fun fights, even if you didn't really know what was going on narratively. But it does also kind of hammer home the points of, hey, Shinra isn't just doing soldier things, they're also doing other kinds of human experimentation here. It very much serves to add to the character of Shinra is not great people. And the people who were hiding things from Shinra aren't necessarily good either. Like, they can be worse. They can be better, or they can be much, much worse. Again, promising I'm not going to land on this point too hard, but it does also go kind of back to Genesis, because he was the basis for all of Deep Ground. So I'm sitting here in my tiny little kernel of hope that I'll get to see him again. Just on the big screen, maybe let him say some of his own dialogue this time as well.
It's a fun Easter egg for the
Right.
fans, the ones that play the game, but it's also like just adding some cool fans for the new players as well, and just a little moment. And maybe those people that are interested, they're gonna like try and Google things and play Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something for older fans, it's something for fans of the more niche stuff, and it's something for new fans as well. It's a good little tie-in of all three.
Yeah. Personally, I don't see how they could fit that storyline into the main game. Like, if they also try to explain the entirety of Dirt, and we already know that Vincent is not going to be playable in this version, so it would also be kind of weird to have like all of his backstory characters, but he's not playable. So I don't see them like fully integrating this in here. I think maybe in a DLC. They
Right.
probably
I
have
love
like
the
a Vincent.
idea
Yeah, they
of
have
the
like a
Vincent
Vincent
DLC,
DLC to carry
like
over
Yuffie
until the
had.
last part. Exactly, until the last
Mm.
part. And then Vincent becomes like playable in that DLC and they learn something else. Like now we have the team attacks. So then they try another combat system with probably like a Dirge style, like shooting combat system, see if that works. And then we'll get more information in the next part. Because it just doesn't like it fit in the Yuffie DLC because it was so like disconnected from everything else. But if they start to dive into all of this while we still try to like figure the main story out while Hojo is still around, it's like such a clusterfuck suddenly.
Yeah. And I like the idea of, since like Dirge of Cerberus is its own game, completely separate from 7, just set in the same universe. I like the idea of integrating like different games related to 7 in DLC as well. Because that way it's not detracting from the story that they're telling overall, but you are still getting that additional context for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a nicer idea would be to actually put the Vincent backstory bits as like a cutscene or a part of the DLC from the original, like the whole with the Lucretia and stuff, rather than, I think, um, kind of digging in the Dirge of Cerberus that already was not well received. So why
Yeah.
would you think it's going to work 10, 15 years later?
Yeah, I
Or
am
rewritten, maybe.
I'm personally hoping for a Vincent DLC like we had the Yuffie. I just think it makes sense. He's got so much story. I want to see it. I think so many
He
people want
deserves
to
it.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, even in
Yes.
this small bit in the original Final Fantasy VII, it was just so deep, so nice to
Yeah.
get to know him from that perspective.
Okay, so we saw this earlier. It was in the video beneath me earlier. At the end of Crisis Core, spoilers, we see Genesis getting picked up by what were then the soldiers Weiss and Nero, which we now know are part of the remake series, sort of, from the Yuffie DLC. Do you believe we will see Genesis pop up in Rebirth? If so, what storyline do you feel could be introduced, and with which characters in particular?
Yeah, I think I think I kind of touched on it earlier as well. It kind of serves as a gateway to all of the deep ground stuff. But I think that the most like iconic use of him is he's known for Loveless, and they've already talked about the musical version of that and the Gold Saucer being expanded upon more so than it was in the original game, down to your decisions affecting how that musical is going to be put on. So it could just be a situation like we joked about with Zach and Cisne opening a bar. He's just retired and he's working a Loveless musical now, and he doesn't like want to get his hands dirty anymore. He's done his time. So something along those lines, but if they do end up introducing him, it will probably be as in some sort of combat capacity just due to the nature of who he is. So it'd be fun to see like another confrontation with Sephiroth, where they both lost their minds this time. I think that would be a very interesting narrative to play out, but it would also detract from like the overall story of the game itself. So it is like a pros and cons situation.
Oh, imagine if the GACT made the music.
Oh.
Or like a new song for
Oh
promotion.
no, another 30 years of legal battle. Ah.
Yeah, that's the hard part about getting him into, right? It's the licensing to Gackt's face at this point. So
Yep.
But they remade the Crisis Core, so they
Yeah,
got
they
it
did it.
back.
Yeah, they got it
Yeah.
now, but could you
That's
imagine
true.
if they invite him back?
well, maybe he's the guy and Genesis just grew a beard. That seems very unlikely, just knowing who Genesis is the character, but the hair matches. You were thinking
does.
real hard about what that, Morty.
Talking about crazy ideas. I can imagine this now.
I just thought
I
if
planted the seed.
they
But it was the
they
cape, like Yakuza boys, like.
they have the entirety of the Rebirth storyline up to whatever they do, even though we already saw that the weapons are mentioned in the trailer. So I'm like, okay, what are you even leaving for this 3 now? But like, if they put Deep Ground in, like, there's no way you finish that story in 40 hours in a coherent way. No way.
Hmm.
There's just too much side plot to Deep Ground.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna tease it. I think they're gonna tease you the entire time. Maybe they show like a red leather jacket in one scene, and you're like, oh, you
It's-
know, somebody
I hope you
quotes
think of things
Loveless.
that happens.
Yeah, somebody quotes Loveless. The camera pans. You see like a red leather jacket, but then it's just like a nobody. And then in the third part, maybe Genesis comes and Angel, and who knows? Maybe they bring everybody back, and it's just one giant fight. Who knows?
Yeah. This is the timeline where everyone went to therapy and nothing went wrong in the first place.
Can I have a question about the trailers and the Gold Saucer musical?
You have a question?
Yeah, a question to my fellow
Go for it.
podcasters. What was your initial reaction to seeing Jessie in a Gold Saucer? What,
That's great.
what do you were thinking about that?
Let me reenact it.
Because that is like the
Something like that.
this was supposed to be the original. Like, if the timelines are still a theory, right? Like, what is she doing?
I
in
don't
there
know.
again?
It could just be like a random dancer, and in that scene, Cloud watches the dancer and remembers Jessie wanting to be a dancer, and then it projects that face onto her, and then it's just like one like fake out
Oh,
moment,
like a
or it's a
flashback
different
or
timeline.
something.
Maybe
Yeah.
you see the musical and like, oh, this musical happens in all the timelines at the same time. Do you see it like with different characters play out, and like it tells a
But
different
he's
story
like,
or something like
oh,
that?
this is just like Jessie, and just like transition to just like a
Yeah, or
girl
it's
that
just
looks like
it's a
her.
fake out. I would assume like
Aw.
right now I'm like on the fake out, like, because like I don't
Mm.
know how they're gonna bring in Jessie. Like, she died on screen,
Hmm.
so I don't know.
But I love that idea though, because it does bring in like if Cloud is seeing like visions of like alternate ways that the
Yeah.
things could have played out, because I'm still very much on the one timeline theory. If he's seeing
Mm.
visions of, oh, if Jessie hadn't died, this is what she would have been doing. If he's seeing those flashes, that also leads itself to other implications as far as like, can we even trust what he saw in Remake?
Yeah.
Like how much of that was a thing too? Because it wouldn't be the first fake out with the Avalanche members that they did in Remake either. So we'll have to see. I did enjoy seeing her happy though. That
Yeah.
that made me smile.
I didn't even notice at first. It was just my
Really?
friend that started crying, like, "Oh my gosh, Jessie!" I'm like, "Wait, what?" I don't know. I was just too many exciting things happening at once, and
It's true. Those
I got
trailers
the
are-
fake out.
Yeah.
So we've sort of touched on this. I feel like I know your feelings on this. Do any of you believe that Vincent and his storyline with Chaos and Hojo might become more prominent in Rebirth, or even the part 3?
Part 3 probably, when he's playable.
Make the most sense.
Yeah.
Plus, I think it would be the most dramatic. And Vincent does have a flair for the dramatic, so I think that would be the way I would want to see it most as well.
I
Okay.
don't know.
I was just I was wondering, because obviously in Dirge there's the whole, well, Vincent and Hojo having a whole big go at each other, because there's chaos, which is the big bad thing in Dirge. And so I was wondering, could they bring that into this one? Because they don't need to, because like you said, Inochi, Dirge didn't do well. But they
Yeah,
have
unless it would
brought...
be a completely rewritten, like Vincent's story, and more focused on the original bit of his backstory. Also, there's no way in hell Hojo is Sephiroth's father. So I like the theory that Vincent might be
Yes,
Sephiroth's
yes.
father. So I'm a big fan of that. So maybe they can touch upon that a little bit.
I think that would be an interesting way if they do bring it in Rebirth to talk about it in
DLC.
that respect, because that would be a bunch of characters at once. They have time for it, and then they could put Chaos in DLC. Because if they put Chaos in the main game, like Daimorty said, that's like we don't have enough time for that.
Yeah.
I'd be concerned.
So is there
Sorry,
not...
just trying to see who the bearded man is, but damn it.
is there not so there's no 100% confirmation currently as to who Sephi's dad is? Is that what we're saying?
Well, you have
Not
an
100%.
unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
I mean,
like,
it is implied that it
Yeah.
is Hojo, that he like got the girl pregnant and then implanted the Genova cells into her and kind of manipulated on his own child. But there's just no. I
you
I
only
don't
have
think.
Hojo's word for it. And do you know how trustworthy that guy is?
Yeah.
It's typically mentioned in the same breath as like, oh yeah, and he told me my mother was Genova, which
Yeah.
like that you can't really trust that because we know that wasn't really his mom. We know who that is. So I guess it really is going to depend on how they choose to paint Vincent's relationship with Lucretia in hindsight in Rebirth.
Very interesting. Okay. Final few minutes, guys. If any of you in chat have got any questions or theories that you want to put through us, you got to go through the channel points command so I don't miss it. Just letting you know. There is a theory that Remake is a sequel to the original timeline taking place after everything, including Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus. Thoughts?
Yes. You're crazy if you don't think that. No, sorry. Yes, I'm on board.
Really?
Yes. I'm on board since the first 5 minutes in Remake. I'm on board.
I'm a fan of the original. I'm like, please make it just the Final Fantasy VII for this generation. Like, don't really include anything that much like unchangeable.
Yeah, I'm still on like the overlapping narrative thing. So I think Advent Children is important, but I don't think that it's like a direct sequel in any way. Other than chronologically, I guess.
Didn't really make too much sense for the sequel to the original, right? After the ending, like seeing that, well, humanity just should be wiped out, basically. Not that they're all like all good and happy 2 years later.
I just think it just makes too much sense if you take into account the book short stories, Livestream Black and Livestream White, that explain like why Geostigma happened and what Sephiroth has become in the live stream. And if you take all of that into account and the push for them to like bring Advent Children back and all, I think it's just too much evidence to not believe that what's happening right now is a direct result of future Sephi in the live stream after Cloud beat his ass again.
We'll see in about a month, I guess.
We do, yeah. We will.
Reconvene.
I might be. This
we'll
is
reconvene
crackpot.
to take the notes.
Yeah, I might be completely off, but it's just reading that and then watching Advent Children again. It just makes too much sense to me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I think Advent Children mostly is, to me at least, Advent Children was a story of Cloud forgiving himself. Like none of the things that happened there was like as important as just him coming to terms that his friends didn't die because of him, kind of.
I have a question that actually one of you guys in chat asked as well, but you asked it very specifically. Zoc Gemst, you asked very specifically for everyone. Will Aerith die in Rebirth? Yes or no answers only.
Yes.
Yes. A version of her? Yes.
Yeah, you know what?
Yes
I'll
or
go with that.
no
I'm-
only.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Not in a way
I-
that matters.
I
Yes or
do
no?
not believe.
No!
Yes,
No!
I think so.
No!
Yes. I don't want to believe. I don't want to live in a world where the creators of Final Fantasy changed the most pivotal moment in gaming and think that's a good idea. Because it's not. It's not a good idea. Don't do it.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
so lovely in the remake, though. It will hurt even more.
Yep. When that
Yes.
material
I think
falls
it's
in
important.
4K, I'll be crying.
Yes.
We all will.
This
Yeah.
is why I'm not going to live stream the game, because I'm going to be crying my eyes out for days.
Right.
So
And also, Final Fantasy for years, like, they just hate happy endings. So if all of a sudden they will, like, really make it, yeah, she's gonna live, oh, everybody is happy. That just doesn't seem like them anymore, really. They love to make us cry.
That's the
I
fun
don't
part.
know, like 10 had a happy ending, 8 had such a happy ending.
No.
I mean,
10 has a
13's
tragic
ending was like,
ending.
I know,
Uh,
I know.
It depends on whether or not you played 10-2, I guess, because they
Oh,
retconned
10
the
to
10
no.
ending.
La. 10 what?
I think 9
gonna
was like
make
the
you
last
cry.
one. Well, actually 12 also was okay, but I don't know. There is a
Exactly.
trend recently
Yeah.
with 15 and 16.
Zop
With
says
16
Zell got
especially.
hot dogs. Zell got hot dogs in 8. Ending was very happy. This
That's
is
Yes.
true.
8 was.
I
I
spent
agree.
my entire playthrough of 8 desperately trying to get that band hot dogs and was upset that I failed until that last cutscene.
That's the satisfying ending we all needed.
Mm-hmm. All right, so another spoiler one, but you all should have seen this by now. At the end of Advent Children, you see Aerith and Zack in the church doorway walking off together. Oh, it's so sad. Would you be happy if this became the end for the final part of the remake series? Not Rebirth, the final part 3.
No.
I would be happy.
I would be
Advent Children
happy.
is great. Advent Children is great. It has a beautiful end of Cloud's arc, and it would be amazing, honestly.
I fully agree. I don't think so because we already had that end, and I think that the new remake trilogy needs its own end.
Okay.
That's a fair point. Counterpoint, I'm a hopeless
It-
romantic and it's sweet.
Yeah, I think they could, like, it's just like a second, right? It's like it could be a part of the new ending.
It could
but-
be a part of it. I think that. And I'm also Team Cloud, so
It doesn't have to necessarily be in like the doorway of the church and recreating Advent Children. One
Yeah,
for
no,
one,
it doesn't.
Like
True.
Zack and Aerith walking off into the live stream hand in hand.
But
Can let
The
them
best
feel so happy,
ending
yes.
is Cloud smiles. Okay, that's the end.
it's not, no. That will break the universe. No, that can't happen. So can we go back to the like Costa del Sol bar idea? Can that be the end?
All right, I have one last question for you guys, and then we're going to turn to the chat questions. And this one is a very simple question. Resolve, resolution, return. Which part 3 title do you think it will have?
Kingdom Hearts 4.
Ah, you arse.
Damn, we had a really good idea with the Chocobros, but I can't think about it now. I can't remember. Maybe Javi will remember. Reunion. Reunion was taken by the Crisis Core, though.
Yeah.
That's
Gone.
what I was thinking.
Can't use it anymore.
Reload. Royal?
Reload?
Reload.
Hamaguchi said it's not reloaded.
everything-
It's not gonna be
Everything
reloaded.
has to be with R. Why?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I call this like the reunion compilation.
Mhm.
To like keep it separate. So while reunion would fit, like it's that, and then they also used it for Crisis Core. I'm of the mind that it might be Retribution.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. It's
Wait, what
marketable.
was the Gact song? Revelation, was it?
Revelation is a
Revelation
gag
would work.
song, but I don't.
Well, the Crisis Core's song.
Oh yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Oh my
I
god,
think-
that would be,
oh my gosh,
that
I
would
need to
be a
Google it
little
now.
bit too much Genesis, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But
Well, there is so much. That's too much.
yeah, put that in like a different game if they have to like do another spin-off.
Redemption. There it is.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go,
It's the
Redemption.
Gak song.
Yeah.
Oh, Redemption wouldn't
Redemption
be
makes
half
a lot
bad
of
either.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna call it Redemption. The Gak song
Redemption.
is just way too many
It
connections
depends how they want to
there.
market it, because if they want to like really like if they go by market trends, they're gonna try to keep it like the same amount of syllables as the other two, so it's gonna be shorter. But it's hard to tell. There's so many R words.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's like finishing out the new compilation, they might break the pattern there as
They
well.
might, or they
So-
might just call it Redcon and be like, haha, gotcha.
No, I think how Rebirth ends will probably change my answer to
Yeah.
this, but Redemption is a good one just for what it could imply for the story. But Retribution, I think, would also work really well.
Absolutely. I think like
I'm
everything we're
Team
talking about is
Redemption.
everything we're going to talk about is going to be so different after we played this game, because it's going to leave us just on the floor probably.
Damn, maybe it's actually gonna be Sephiroth redeeming himself and actually being a good guy and saving the
That's what I
planet.
Let him be himself. He's like, all right, save the planet. Now I can kill people the way I want to. The way I've been brainwashed.
We've got some great ones in chat. We've got Revive, yep, Revelations, Refund for the angry fans, Retrospection and Redemption, Redeem, Reforestation, nice. Buttspot is attached to Hover, sorry. Buttspot likes to attach to green listed people. It just happens. Really likes the colour green. Okay, well that was all of my questions that
Remembrance is good too.
we had preset. I'm going to go through the ones that you guys have thrown at us from chat. It starts with Tomato Boris, actually, because he knows that you all play 14. Now, I'm going to read this badly because I don't know these words. He says, since I know you're all 14 fans, I'm going to derail this by asking best Scion or best Asian? Is that how I say those things?
ASEAN, yeah.
ASEAN?
Like the ass. They have the ass.
For any of you, do you best Scion and ASEAN?
Ich stolle Fan Daniel.
You just became my best friend. I was the only Fan Daniel cosplayer for like a year. Nobody else loved him.
Aw.
Ew, guys.
Son.
Fanny Daddy's great. Crazy,
he's-
but great.
He's a delight. But my favorite ASEAN would have to be Elidibus. Favorite Scion or Riange.
Aw. For me, favorite sign is Grahatia, and my favorite ASEAN is Emmet Selk.
Fair enough.
There you go. Three different answers. Perfect.
This
Mhm.
means nothing to me. I'm
Because
glad you can...
still have to go. And
How
play
long
have-
since our Final
Oh,
Fantasy
it's so
14 podcast? Age bump, come on.
it.
I
She's
know.
played. She's like level 12.
Am I?
Play more.
I think so.
I only did one
Join
play.
us.
I've never got time to be playing 14. I've got all these other games to
Ooh,
play.
I got the Asm necklace locket
Oh, I have
for
mine
Christmas.
somewhere over there. It's real pretty.
Yes.
Oh. My next question is from Goose. Are we going to snowboard after that thing happens? I think, Goose, it's been confirmed snowboarding's the next one, part 3.
They have confirmed no snowboard
So
in
after...
this
Oh,
After
shit.
that thing happens.
Is there gonna be a CPR minigame? That's the real question.
Yes!
Ooh.
They changed it though. They said, it's going to be different.
So there actually is going to be a CPR minigame.
Mm-hmm. They
Oh,
confirmed it
shit, okay.
in the Game Informer interview that they have the CPR minigame in, but they changed it.
You gotta press
Interesting.
multiple.
I have some questions and some concerns.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll
Who's
see
this one
soon.
from? Hang on, let me check. Hoverbot, will there be any characters that'll become party members in Rebirth that weren't party members in the original 7? Who would you want to see?
I don't think so, because Vincent isn't in. People would riot in the streets if they prioritize someone above Vincent.
Yeah.
He was the optional character in the original, though.
Yeah.
No, the Final Fantasy VII. I guess Kai Sith is probably the least like needed or necessary for the story. At least that's what I think. I mean, you kind of forget about him after the little plot twist, and I don't know, in the original at least, he doesn't really affects the party or the
Yeah.
events too much.
Yeah, and
I
I don't
wouldn't.
think they're gonna like make new characters and put them in the party either. Uh,
Mm.
if it's like someone who wasn't a party member before, it'll be someone who at least was in the game before.
Yeah.
And the rest is like very solid.
I
Maybe
mean,
somebody
Sephiroth,
cancel.
like, right? Sephiroth will be playable,
Yeah.
although he was playable new. Well, he wasn't playable in the original, but he was there in the original as well. So, yeah.
You could control him for 1 minute
All right. Yeah, I guess against the Green Dragon.
in the flashback.
Yeah. True.
Yep.
Rufus would be cool. No,
Mm.
That would
Rufus
be
is
cool.
evil. Evil.
For now.
He just
Yeah.
wants your money.
Yeah, I like Rufus.
Yes,
Ferrico
he hot.
asked, I always found Tifa's portrayal in the original especially weak around not telling Cloud about inconsistencies with his story. How can they handle that story beat this time in a more expanded game without making Tifa look really weak as a character? Good question, Ferrico.
I mean, they kind of explained that in the extended media towards the game that you don't see it in the original, but like the original game plays 3 months after Tifa meets Cloud for the first time, and in that time she tried multiple times to ask him about the discrepancies, and every time he like went crazy, had headaches, fainted. So by the time the OG game starts, she's like, okay, playing along, gonna see what's happening here. Can't mention it. Bad things happen, and that's why she doesn't mention it. So I think they probably will just mention something similar in this version.
There's also something to be said for the last time they had like an actual conversation as friends, not including like the events of Nibelheim, right? Was many, many, many years ago. You never know how much someone changes in that period of time or how significant trauma like Nibelheim would affect somebody. So there is also something to be said for just giving him space because he is also a person who like grows and changes, you know? So they have a little bit more avenue to explore that medium as well with Remake. And I think that would make for a narrative element that they could then also have a conversation about when they're talking about the amnesia.
Yeah. I can't find it quickly, but there was an interview that like said that, like explained that she tried multiple times to like talk to him about it before OG game, but it wasn't going well. It was like
It's
a
in
very
one of
old
the
interview.
books. Yeah.
And in one of the books, yeah.
Dupe asked the question. Well, is this a question? Yes, there is a question in there. Hang on, I've just got to read it all out. I couldn't agree more that Sephiroth is overused. I even would have preferred Jenova as a villain in Advent Children. My question is, jumping all the way to part 3, do you think the final ending of the game will be the same as OG? Safer Sephiroth gets blown up, Cloud mind battles Seph, Crater blows up, Livestream, Meteor, Holy, etc. The devs have been on record saying everything flows still canon into AC, but who knows what to believe from them.
That's a good point.
I think we'll see it and we'll do the fights, but it's not the ending of the game.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be maybe a little bit more optimistic than the OG. But not really leading on to the Advent Children. I don't think so.
Okay.
Or it's gonna somehow include the Advent Children to have like the ending, like we talked about earlier. But I don't think it's good either. It's really hard to say now.
Yeah.
We don't know anything. So much of this depends on Rebirth. It's hard to talk about part 3 when we don't know what's changing in the next one.
Ask us again in a month.
Yeah.
But Jenova, final villain. I like that.
I do too.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
we're hitting all of the same story beats, just in a different order, and they have the same emotional impact, but in a different way. So I think we'll be getting all of that, but I don't think it's going to be the end.
Ferrico asks a very good question that I think we already know the answer to, unfortunately. Will Sid still swear and smoke as much?
Oh, didn't they
Apparently
put
not.
18 plus? No.
Apparently not. No 6 anymore.
Yeah, so I believe he'll probably swear because Barrett swears like a trooper. I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah.
all do actually in Remake. So Sid's
Do you even
gonna be
Earth?
oh my god, yeah. Like, so Sid's definitely gonna be swearing. But the cigarettes, the iconic smoking, the constant smoking, the packet of cigarettes there in his t-shirt, like they're all gone. They're not. We haven't seen them happening.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't mind taking away the SIGs as much as the swearing because that's like just a
Yeah.
part of his feisty personality. And from the trailers, he is just so bland, and I'm a little bit worried. Like, please, what is this generic sentence, Sid? Where's like your personality, right? So I hope
Well-
it's gonna, they're gonna at least keep that aspect. But the
They
SIGs, I mean,
also, yeah, they also can't swear that much in trailers because trailers have to be viewable by all audiences. So I would love for a lot of those lines to have been recorded specifically for the trailer, and then when you get to them in the game, there's like 3 swear words inserted.
I mean, they
in
could
the
still show
actual
his
version.
personality and
That's true,
just putting
yeah.
like a generic, "What do you want me to do, Miss?"
Although, like, that's like very, like, I think that's a very smart thing because it's so antithesis to his character. Like, that's not Sid. What is going on here, right? Like, that's
Right.
that's what I'm thinking. Like, I saw this in like, that's not Sid.
That is
is
not
that a
Sid,
Genova clone?
absolutely.
Huh?
I
Who
was about
knows?
to ask, do you think it's the Genova thing? That's
Please
where she
no.
draws the
Genova
line.
can copy everything except swearing. That's how you know.
Okay, Tomato wrote a question that I'm sure makes sense, but my brain can't comprehend right now. Would they have us play through Zack arriving at Midgar and having him and us being confused, and then the twist for newer people is it's Cloud's memories between him arriving at Midgar and meeting Tifa?
Ooh.
Good point, actually. I think I
Definitely
have got my
yes
head
to the
around that.
first part because we see that in the trailer. The second part is interesting. That would be fun.
That kind of ties back to where I think Zack is going in the trailer, is that we're getting the amnesia twist in a very different way. I think
Yeah.
that would be a very effective way to do it, honestly. That's very good insight.
That'd be
Yeah,
very fun.
I'm confused by this point, so I'm not sure if this is good for like most of the people or the newcomers. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
We got a question from Goose. Are you well, yes. Now actually, this is my last question that I have in the list, guys, and I think it's a very good last question for us to end on here. Are you all going to stream Rebirth or do your first playthrough off stream?
Should I go first?
Go for it.
All right. So I would definitely, if I was at home, I would definitely play it on stream on like the release day. I was very fortunate with the remake to play a day early as well, thanks to Square Enix. But this year, I'm actually going to be in Japan for the release day. If anyone wants any like videos from how Final Fantasy release looks like in the homeland.
Wow.
So I'm just
Awesome.
gonna I'll just have to protect myself from the spoilers for like 2 weeks, and
Oh,
after I'm back, I'm like first thing Rebirth. So
and you're gonna
I'll
stream it
very fresh
live then?
playthrough.
When you get home, you're gonna stream it live?
Yeah, when I get home, so it's around 2 weeks after the release. Ugh. So I just have to. I just hope I'm going to be busy enough to not get the spoilies. But
Yeah,
I'm a
it's
little
good.
scared.
I am not a streamer by trade. I do stream, but primarily my presence online is like cosplay stuff, so more like Twitter,
Ah.
Instagram things. But I do have a lot of friends who don't have PS5s, so I might just do like a "you can't hear me" or my Discord call stream whenever I'm available. I plan to do it that whole weekend. So if you want commentary-free gameplay, that might be up, I guess.
There you go, guys. All follow M.
Yeah.
Daimorty, you don't own a PS5.
I don't own a PS5. I will be streaming it definitely when it comes out on PC, whenever that is. Probably only when it comes out on Steam though, because that's where I have the Evo games. But I will be there second one, the first stream. It's gonna be either Jesse Cox or me JP. I'm gonna be there and just go wild in chat. and enjoy the ride, because there's no way I can wait 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, however long, 2 years maybe, not waiting that. Nah, I'll just watch it. I did the same with Remake. I watched it and then I bought it on Steam, played it, and still loved every second of it. So yeah, I'll experience it twice.
Nice. I personally won't be streaming it live first time. As I said earlier, I'll be crying far too much. I can't be live on Twitch crying my eyes out for a whole day.
People love it. Do it.
So the first time I'm gonna play it in the dark in my lounge with like a gremlin under the sheets, and just try and just finish it within 5 days. I've got 5 days booked off work. I plan to just eat terrible food.
Wow.
And yeah, gremlin mode activated, and then
Oh, I'm jealous. I want this so much as well.
and then
I'm
I
jealous of
might
you're going to the release.
I might
You're
then
in
stream
Japan,
it
come
afterwards,
on.
but yeah.
That's the silver lining, but I want to be the gremlin mode, like
Yeah.
H-bomb.
Yeah, well,
I
you'll
really
be
do.
there. Well, I guess you won't be there because you'll go straight on live. Be a gremlin live on Twitch instead.
Yeah.
um,
And yeah, that just keeps me. I was a little bit sad when they announced the date, but then like, oh girl, you're gonna be in Japan
Yeah.
on the release.
do any of you guys have any other fan theories that you feel that we've missed this evening? Any other points that you would like to bring up about Rebirth before we're done?
Man, is there anyone that just wants them to do no changes at all? Because I feel like I'm in the minority here. I just love the OG so much. I like all of the new things they're added to expand the world and the story, but not as many of the changes. Like I just hate the plot ghosts.
Yeah, me too.
I thought I would dislike the changes more than I actually do, and now I'm just so excited that I get to just completely nerd out about my favorite game. Because if they had just redone it, it would be like, oh cool, it looks so pretty. Oh, there's new combat, yay, right? It would be exciting, but it just isn't the same as now, where you're just like, I don't know what's going on. Everything, like, this could be the greatest, this could be the worst. It's just an exciting time. So I really
I
enjoy
get
what
that.
they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like every trace of the original game has been erased from existence, right? This is a new game. They very much stress that. So it's 7 and we're doing more things with it. That doesn't change the fact that the old game is still there for us to go back and play whatever we want. I think it's fun to expand on what's existing, because it's not like erasing the fact that it existed in the first place. So
Yeah.
I just think it's neat.
Yeah, absolutely. I already grew up
it's a
with the
fair point.
original.
It definitely
Right.
makes people talking about it, so the plan is working with the
Yeah.
whole theories and the brainstorming and everything.
Yeah, I mean they made
Rising
a
excitement.
27-year-old game, the top most anticipated game of the year, right? The remake of it, by being creative with it. And I think, especially in a day and age where a lot of remakes are just like low effort, just basically puke at this point, I really appreciate that they're trying something else. And time will tell if they land it. If they don't land it, obviously that's going to be a really big travesty. But if they land it, I think we're going to have just
They're really
like
putting
another.
a lot of love to the remake.
Yeah.
There's just so much effort
Being made with so much love, yeah.
to
Absolutely.
the game. They really don't want to disappoint anyone. Old fans or the new.
Yeah, I think if
new
they
things.
nail this, then in 27 years we'll talk about the remake as just as much as we talk about the original, right? Like it's going to be the same
Hopefully.
love and reverence for it. But they have to nail it, and they only have 2 more games to do it. We'll see.
I'm choosing to have faith, because
Yeah.
I love this universe, and it gives us so much room to speculate and like make new friends and talk about things, because that's what Final Fantasy does to you. And 7 is really, really special to a lot of Final Fantasy fans. Like, it holds that kind of pedestal. It's the right way, or rather the right game. The right way remains to be seen. Depends on if they stick the landing or not. But it was the right game to kind of build that mold on, because there's already such a community here.
Oh yeah, man. When Advent Children came out, it was also like so busy around like back in 2009 when Crisis Core came out as well. So many cosplays, and like it's so heartwarming to see it like being back as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the hard part for me is will Rebirth give me any new things that I want to cosplay? How much do I have to rearrange my list for that too?
There might be a
Definitely.
costume system.
I'm so worried.
Yeah.
I'm so worried.
Are you playing Ever Crisis?
I have been trying to. I don't do well with repetitive gameplay or time-locked gotcha systems, though, so I'm mostly like, okay, this person uploaded another hour of cutscenes. So
Yeah.
skins.
I,
It's skins.
I'm aware. I'm looking at that Aerith one so hard. It's so pretty.
I love all of them. I mean, the reason I play the game is the last summer event Tifa bikini.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, and I respect you for it. It's-
Well, I should probably send us off by letting you all sort of talk about yourself and where people can find you, as we've just discussed a little bit of cosplay. Daimorty, where can people find you? And
Oh boy. At
When?
Daimorty everywhere. I don't stream as much as I used to because I'm working full time and, getting older and stuff. But I have been streaming this year, like 3 times already. It's insane. Been playing a lot of Power Word, loving it, loving the grind. And aside from that, you'll see me playing a lot of Dawn Trail in summer. That's for sure.
Yes.
Mm.
Oh, I'm
And
so
yes, it is
excited.
his birthday, yes. Em, what about
you.
yourself? Where can people find you?
I am also Emanarum on all platforms. My Twitch streaming is primarily raid nights from Final Fantasy XIV, and whenever my friends want to watch me play a PS5 game. But otherwise, if you see me on Twitter, I'm always posting cosplay things or Final Fantasy conspiracy theories, and all of the fun stuff goes there.
And Inochi, what about yourself?
I just hit the follow on M as well, and I want to see the Morty's cosplay, or maybe of Sid, or that new bearded
Yeah, we just put a
character.
robe on him.
If that's
Yeah.
gassed, I'll do the cosplay.
Let's
Well,
go.
Heard it here.
We clip it, yeah.
But yeah, you can finally actually have different handles everywhere. I should definitely fix that. But on the Twitch, I'm Inochi Fantasy, and on the rest of the platforms, you can find me as CG Inochi. That's some reminiscence of my previous League of Legends life. Maybe somebody will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm mainly focused on JRPGs and anime games. I play a lot of Square Enix games. Right now, we're playing through the newest Like a Dragon game, The Infinite Wealth. But very, very much anticipating for the rebirth. And yeah, I'm going to Japan soon, so you can check me out on Instagram as well for cosplays and some pictures from Japan in 2 weeks.
Yep, we should all go follow those links, everybody. And thank you, everyone. Thank you to the guests, and thank you for chat for all of your lovely theories. I live and breathe this stuff. I am obsessed with just hearing people's thoughts on everything Final Fantasy VII. So thank you so much for sharing yours.
Yeah, thank you. It was so much fun again. It was lovely to be here.
It's lovely
great,
having
thank
you
you.
guys. We've also managed to round this up in such quick timing that you can all go over to your state of play. You haven't missed anything yet. So we're all doing really well.
Demo.
Yes, we're all hoping for a demo. I have time. We're hoping for a demo. Anyway, thank you everybody so much. If you wanted to catch this podcast another time, it's going to go up on YouTube tomorrow. The audio version will go across all podcast platforms, so Spotify tomorrow as well. It's hbomb_editor. I'm sorry, you'll find it there. hbomb_editor is where you're going to find all of my podcast stuff because I'm terrible at naming it. If you are interested in being a part of a future episode, let me know. If you are interested in doing an opinion piece like you saw some people like Ferrico and Dupe do this evening, send them in. Just contact me, anybody. Just send me a DM anywhere. I'm here. Just hbomb_editor everywhere. Thank you so much, everyone. And have fun playing Rebirth, because it's coming! Bye, everybody!
So close.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to our Final Fantasy podcast. Check out our Ko-fi for even more content, including our new mini-series SideQuest. Go to ko-fi.com/hbomb_editor.